Springs Board of Education. And this is the May 8th meeting. And we were in executive session at 6:30, and now we're proceeding with our...
This is June.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said May, didn't I? Thank you. All right, June 8th, 2017. It is June. I'd like to welcome you to the meeting of the Yellow Springs Board of Education and let you know that we conduct business here, and we're always very interested in hearing what you have to say. We give a little time to the community for any comment, but we have an agenda that we need to follow, and so we'll welcome your comments, but we will listen to them, and we really won't do anything more on this evening but hear you. So just to make you aware of that. I am moving into the approval of the minutes because we've already been called to order. So the approval of minutes for May 11th, 2017.
So moved.
Second?
Yes. Can I second?
Yes. Any questions about that?
I wasn't here, so.
Oh, so you're abstaining,
we
so
can't.
I'm gonna have to second it.
But then we can't approve them.
Okay, well then we'll have to wait until.
Can we still approve it? Is the majority of the board members present?
I thought we needed a majority of the whole.
So I think it's the whole.
Okay, well, all right, well, so I'll
If
call
that,
the
if that
roll.
doesn't work, we can do it again.
All right.
Yeah.
Aida?
Yeah.
Steve? Yeah, sure. Ann?
Abstain.
Okay.
All right. We're missing our treasurer this evening as well as 2 board members. So I'd like to again welcome everyone who's present. And I'm moving into communications, presentations and reports. 2.1, communications. There's a letter from Kelly Oberg dated May 22nd, 2017. I'd like to recognize the members of the audience. Ask that whoever's here sign that tablet that's going around. And anybody who would like to address the board at this point, so please step up to the microphone, introduce yourself, and share briefly with us what brings you here and so forth. So.
Hello, board. Thank you. My name is Eli Hurwitz. I'm the Yellow Springs Education Association president, and I'm here to represent teachers and all the work that they do. I have a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. The first being, although that it is summer, our teachers are hard at work, working towards being ready for next year's projects. So I've already worked with a number of teachers and heard from a number of teachers that are preparing for next year. So summer break doesn't necessarily mean that the teachers aren't working. They're working diligently. I'd also like to, I know we represent, we recognize teachers that retire from the district. This year, there are 3 teachers that have moved to other jobs, and I want to recognize their service to our district because they did work for us and with our students and did well. Brian Knosman worked here at the elementary and at the middle school. Jackie Pohl worked here at the elementary, and Carol Culbertson worked here at the elementary, and all 3 did wonderful work for the school district, and I'd like to recognize their service. And I just, it's a wonderful summer, and I hope everybody keeps thinking. So, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Eli.
Hello, my name is David Parker. I'm parent of Hannah Parker, hopefully to start 4th grade this year here in Yellow Springs. Sorry, I really am, this is short notice. I actually left work to come here tonight because we were informed that our daughter's open enrolled. We live in Xenia. And we were informed today that she was not going to be able to attend school here next year because she's on an IEP and a ratio issue with, I think, having enough instructors for children that are on IEP. And that's, that's pretty devastating to our family, and I just wanted to discuss that pretty quickly. We do live in the city of Xenia. We have not moved into the community yet. That is our intention, and we've been looking since she started. She's been here since kindergarten. She's been here every year. My wife is Girl Scout troop leader for age, volunteers here at the school. You know, we try to be involved with the community as much as we can. And we're trying to work through this, so you know, we look forward to further discussions with the superintendent and staff, how we can deal with this. And one of the things is, you know, we've discussed previously, and I understand there are concerns that they wouldn't want us to take our child off of IEP just so she could remain here. Although, on the surface of that, I think that would be the best for her to remain at this school district rather than do an IEP at another school district. But we pay for private tutoring for her outside of the extra work that she gets here at the school district, and if necessary, we would up that. We actually had decreased it in the last year, and her tutor believes that she's ready to come off of the IEP and wanted us to discuss that this fall. So I just wanted to go on record, just wanted to discuss it, let you know what our concerns are, and that we'd like to work with you and see what we can do to keep our daughter in Yellow Springs schools.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Beth Baird, and I too was notified today that my daughter Chloe would not be able to go to school here next year. I'm sorry, it's really emotional for me because I really fought to get her on an IEP to help her, and I knew that the teachers here would be able to do that. And it's a little bit disheartening when she can no longer attend here. Sorry, it's really emotional. It's not only upsetting to me, but I know it's gonna rock her world. And she loves this school. And I would just ask that you guys really, really consider the emotional impact this has on a child who really loves her community, a place where she's accepted, and she's a really good student. She works really, really hard. So if there's anything you guys can do, hire another specialist, even if it's part-time and it accommodates these children, please, please really, really consider the impact that this is having on not only my family, but their family, and 2 other families within this who attend this school, because it's a wonderful, wonderful school. And I don't know what our future is for her with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board? Thank you, and I would encourage you to talk to Superintendent Tesoro.
Yeah, I think I just recently got an email from at least one of you, and maybe, but please, let's get in touch this week, and maybe we can talk. Maybe next week we can talk some more and see where, what we can do. I think hopefully at least the idea that the challenge was explained a little bit in terms of the challenge we have, and we want to. It's really it's difficult, and we understand I hear where you're coming from, and I really appreciate you coming here.
I'm sorry. I'm so emotional right now. Like,
yeah.
I should have
No,
could have had the day
We're very happy you're
a
here.
day later when
These are your children. We expect you to be emotional.
And we're very happy you're here, and thank you for doing that. Ultimately, our goal is to serve our kids and the needs of our kids, and do what's best for the students of Yellow Springs schools. And so that's super important and central to our work. And so I'd love to talk to you more next week, and we can have a meeting and come in, and we can maybe try to figure out a way to work through this that meets the needs of our district as well as your family and our community. And we're so happy that you've chosen Yellow Springs schools. I mean, even though you can't live here now, it's happy that you were great that you want to be in our schools, and it's. We agree. It's a great school district for kids, and we're so happy that you see that too. So, thank you. Thanks for being here. So we'll talk.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You're all right. You're all right. Well, thank you. I know it is hard to come in front of a public meeting like that, but I appreciate you doing that. We do take this seriously, and it is one of the policies that we look at regularly as a board, this open enrollment policy. So it's very important to have faces to the people who are here, and appreciate that a lot. right, moving into schools in action. This is really a kind of a hard segue, but this is our Bulldog Backer Award presentation, and I'll let Mario take over.
Yeah, this is great. So why don't I start with the least senior member that's worked with our schools, and with the most senior member that's worked with our schools. To a little bit about the Bulldog Backer Award. This is a award we started last school year for the first time ever, and this award goes to community members who have given back to our school district in a myriad of ways. It could be financially, it could be time, it could be volunteering, and it could be leading levies or other initiatives, and being really involved in supporting our schools over time. I think is sort of the spirit of the Bulldog Backer Award. And so we have here on the wall, well, I guess I'll start with this, why not, you know? This can come off. It might could come off.
Don't break things, Mario.
There it is, one of those. No, I'm just going to leave it there. Well, anyway, so on this award, it says it's the Lapides Lynch Bulldog Backer Award in honor of Richard Lapides and Maureen Lynch, who were the first honorees of the Bulldog Backer Award for their great service, and their communitarians, and for their great service to our schools, for dedication, support, and service to the Yellow Springs schools. And we felt like this is an honor. There's so many people in our community that give back to our schools, that volunteer every day. I've said for a long time, I think the secret weapon of Yellow Springs schools are our community elders, the folks who are wisest and the strongest, and these two gentlemen that we're going to honor tonight are models and pillars of that ideal, and two people I very much so look up to personally for their dedication and what they've done for our kids in our schools, and I hope to someday be at the level that Wally and Sam are. I really do. You all are admirable. And so I'm going to start with Wally. So would you mind coming up, Linda?
I'm already crying.
Well, there's the box of tissues.
It's contagious. Take one. I think it's gone. I need more. Oh no! Is there more in there?
Is there a way to get more tissue? This is Linda Sykes. Linda is, in addition to being Wally's daughter, also a counselor and teacher from Yellow Springs Schools, who just retired recently, actually. And Linda is here to accept this award on behalf of her father, Wally. And so it's a really nice award, and I think it says, Lapides Lynch Bulldog Backer Award presenting to Walter Sykes. Thank you for your dedication, support, and service to Yellow Springs Schools, 2017. A little bit about Wally, and this is what I know, and he's a very modest individual who doesn't, like the fanfare. He really is, he's humble, very conscientious, caring, loving, and dedicated to schools and community and children, like nobody I've met. Wally and I, so first let me tell you a little bit about his history that I know of, and maybe get some help from others in the room. But Wally had at least 30 years of service to the Yellow Springs schools, specifically on levy committees. In addition to that, he was one of the people who initiated and drivers of the YSEE, Yellow Springs Endowment for Education, which is an amazing fund through the Yellow Springs Community Foundation, and I think at the time it was established was avant-garde. I mean, I believe it was really one of the first of its kind to support schools, and we are still drawing off that endowment today and creating great projects because of the dedication and work that Wally did. Personally, when I came on, Tony, my predecessor, said to me, Wally is a guy you got to get to know and talk to. He's really valuable and great for this community. So I got to know Wally very quickly. We used to have lunches, I don't know if you know, all the time at, he really liked to go down to Ha-Ha's. And so we'd go there for their lunch special and talk about schools and everything happening in our schools. He was very interested and engaged, super smart. He has incredible skills in terms of people skills and his ability to understand systems, and so he was a guy I felt like I could really talk to, who really understood schools and organizations, who I could trust as well. And so Wally, if you're watching, you know, we love you. We think you're wonderful. We want to thank you for all your time and dedication to Yellow Springs schools. And I'm coming tomorrow, or next week. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to try to get in on Monday. I'm going to come see you, and I'm going to bring this award to you personally, myself, to your home, and to hand it to you there. You mean so much to us and to our community. You really are the heart and the soul of Yellow Springs and what this community is all about, and we greatly appreciate your service and dedication to the community and schools of Yellow Springs. So, Linda, I hope you will accept this award on your father's behalf.
I will. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Wow. Okay. And the second honoree is the most senior member of that group in terms of time that he's dedicated to schools. Sam, would you mind coming up here for a minute? Or I can bring the mic to you if you'd like. It's up to you, Sam. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Let me stand over here, Sam. If you want, you can kind of lean on the table if you'd like, or whatever you feel more comfortable doing. Okay. Great. Okay. So this is Sam Bechtel. Sam, I said Wally had more than 30 years experience. Sam had approximately, and I think we're really close to the exact number here, 40 years of service to Yellow Springs schools as treasurer of the levy committee and doer of all things with the levy committees for 40 years. We gotta give him a round of applause for that. Sam also has been tremendously dedicated in a number of avenues and venues, and he and I have also had lots of conversations like Wally. We met in my office many times and talked a lot about our schools, and he was always the guy I'd see on the street about a month or two before a levy came up, and he'd say, "When are we going to get the committee going?" And he'd be super excited about it, and it was so wonderful, Sam, to see somebody who didn't have children, no longer had children in our schools, doesn't have an immediate connection to the actual school itself, believes so much in public schooling and public education that you dedicated a lot of time. I mean, over 40 years, I'm trying to estimate how many hours you put into this work. And he was the guy who went down to Greene County and dealt with the bureaucracy down there every time to get the committee started and get the account set up, so that took a lot of work too. We really appreciate all that, being the expert with that. But you know, 40 years of experience to anything is incredible. But 40 years of dedication to a school system, to supporting public education, and I'm told that that you got that value and that ethic from your own upbringing, and that growing up for you, for Sam, in his household with his parents, it was all about, there was no other choice. It was about supporting public schools and supporting public education. And so he took that value that he got from his parents and brought it to Yellow Springs and carried it forward here. And so we are eternally grateful for you, for your leadership, for your dedication and support to the schools of Yellow Springs. And it could not happen to, this award is long overdue. 40 years in the making, actually. Long overdue, and this is the minimum we could do for you as a token of our appreciation for all of your work and love for kids and for Yellow Springs. And I hope someday to kind of get close to your level of dedication to a community that you have. So thank you so much, Sam. Thanks, Sam. So we should get a picture real quick.
Could I say something?
Oh, hang on, you can't sit down.
Well, maybe you can sit down.
Oh, you can sit down.
You can sit down.
What are you going to do?
I was just going to say something. I worked on a lot of those levy campaigns with Sam over the years. And I have to say, the most terrifying levy campaign I ever was through was the first one that you weren't the treasurer. I was afraid we'd all end up in jail. Because you kept us in line. You knew the rules down to the minutia. There's so many little ins and outs of what you can and can't do, and Sam was definitely the the police on that. You really kept us on the straight and narrow, so thank you, Sam.
So you can sit down for this, but the reason I have my phone on, which I would never typically do, is because one of our board members had an interaction with Sam, and she's one of the members who isn't here tonight, and she asked that I share this out about Sam. First of all, Sam grew up in Worcester, and as Mario said, his parents were public school supporters, but apparently the community, even in the times of the greatest financial duress in the community, they always backed schools. So that was sort of what Sam knew and grew up with. But he was also apparently on the school board in Worcester, and as well as the treasurer of the schools in Worcester, which I didn't know about at all until today, actually. So he has a longer history than with the Yellow Springs schools. So this is what Sylvia says. He traces his dedication back to when he was growing up, and his entire community always supported school funding, even during times of serious economic hardship. He put this feeling into action through his many years of services as levy committee treasurer. Also, there's a former Yellow Springs Community Fund related to Sam's family that was recently transitioned to support Power of the Pen. Joan Ackerman knows more of the details because she helped work on that. So I don't know if you want to say more about that.
I had sent a little verbal a text to Sylvia. In 1984, honoring Sam's late wife, Mary Jane Bachtel, the Mary Jane Bachtel Creative Writing Award was established, and it was the kind of thing where there was competition. Students tried, submitted work. There was a committee. It was very, very involved, with a lot of people who knew Mary Jane and Sam and supported that effort. And as time has gone on, that's morphed into it needed to morph into something else. And so we just switched it, or Sam just switched it, to be a fund in the Yellow Springs Community Foundation, the Mary Jane Bachtel Creative Writing Endowment Fund, which will automatically each year send money to the schools to support the Power of the Pen. And the little a little factoid that makes this so perfect. Sam not only grew up in Worcester, he is a Worcester College graduate. Power of the Pen is held at Worcester College every year and was developed by Worcester College alumni. So it's all very,
tied together.
yes, tied together in a way that really makes Sam feel very good about having made this transition.
Very nice. All right, well, bravo.
That's perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
And you don't need to stay for the whole board meeting, Sam.
That's right. You've been in enough meetings.
Yeah, turn around.
Paid your meeting dues.
Have a handshake.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
All right, so next on our agenda is a retirement plaque presentation. So here we go with that too.
It's getting real, Keith.
My name is Tim Cryer. I'm principal of McKinney Middle School in Yellow Springs High School. It is truly my pleasure to be able to honor Keith. Keith, come on up, would you please? Keith Harding is retiring after 35 years of service. He is, what you may know about him is, he knows everybody. In fact, half of you may be his cousins or second cousins. I don't know how it is. But he is, I can talk about the work, but I'd rather talk about the kind of man he is. He is generous of spirit, he's kind, he's encouraging, he is positive. He helps provide a sense of stability in our buildings as a custodian and just as a person. if there are things when I'm trying to figure out, new to Yellow Springs, only 7 years here, and of course that's like moving here a month ago. You know, sometimes asking Keith, you know, what's this about? And he really had a very nice sense of what's important, other than being a Duke and a Bengals fan. But let me read this for Keith. It's a retirement award presented to Keith Harding. With this award, we wish to extend to you our appreciation for 35 years of dedicated service, 1982 to 2017, as a custodian for the Yellow Springs Exempted Village School District. On behalf of the students, the staff, and the community, we extend to you our sincere gratitude and wish you a long, happy, and healthy retirement. The Yellow Springs Board of Education, June 2017. He's been out fishing so far, and we had a very nice retirement party at their house, and no stories are told about that. And so, anyway, we're delighted that he's going to be able to spend time with his beautiful wife and son, who is a graduate of Yellow Springs Schools as well. So how about a big round of applause, please?
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
There you go, Keith.
All right, moving into the next award recognition.
I guess I should probably do that. Or Tim, you want to do that? We didn't talk about it.
Why don't you do?
Okay, all right. So this is a, well, we get on the mic first.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm actually going to have Eli come up right now and kind of work with me on this. We have the award, Eli. Jack has it. Oh, Jack has it, okay. You should come up since you're here, Jack. Come on up. Thank you. So this is the 2007, well, let me back up. The McKinney Middle School team and the 10th grade team both did incredible projects this year around water, specifically the Little Miami River. And the 10th grade team worked with the Glen Helen, right? The Glen Helen area, and did an amazing project where they did an evaluation of Glen and working with the water, and you can talk more about it, I'm sure, than I could, Eli. And you will. And then the McKinney team did Into the Wild project, which we know a lot about from their work with that as well. And both projects have gotten really great recognition. The 10th grade project was featured in the Glen Helen magazine, which many of you may have seen. And incredible work our kids did on that project, as well as the Into the Wild project, which was featured in the Dayton Daily News. And in addition to that, they produced a report, that water quality report, that went to the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency. And so as a result of that work, we were contacted by Hope Taft, who is with the Little Miami River Cleaners and Little Miami Watershed Network. And she contacted us and said, you know, we really want to honor Yellow Springs Schools. Who do we talk to? And specifically your teams. And presented this to them on Saturday. So really recently, this just happened. And so we had teachers down there to receive this award on behalf of the 7th grade middle school team, McKinney Middle School team, and the 10th grade team at Yellow Springs High School, McKinney Middle School. And so here it is, the 2017 Impact Award, presented to Yellow Springs Schools for outstanding effort to persevere and protect the Little Miami River and its watershed, presented June 3rd, 2017, the Little Miami River Cleaners and Little Miami Watershed Network. So, I think the next question is, where does it go? It could go in the Board of Education office, or it could go in the high school office, I imagine. One of
I
those.
prefer the high school office.
I prefer it too, actually.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think that's probably where it
kids should see
belongs.
that, yeah.
So do you all have anything, would you all like to share anything? That I obviously didn't cover everything, so why don't you all share some info, unless you don't have anything to share.
Just grab up.
Let me just say, this team of this would not have happened without an excellent team of teachers. Jack is the project-based learning PBL coach for that McKinney Middle School team, and he's the leader, the fearless leader of that team that helps to work with teachers and students to drive a lot of the work of the project. And Jack's leadership was instrumental in that Into the Wild project and its success. The same is the case for Eli, who leads the 10th grade team as a PBL coach, and his leadership as well was critical to the success of this project. And so I want to thank you both for your leadership and your efforts and your ability to dream and work with your team. The work our kids are doing is getting noticed, and it's making a difference beyond the classroom because of our teachers' work, because of our kids' work, and because of your leadership. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
So,
So how did Hope tell? How did Hope tell?
well, I believe that we have a mutual friend.
Ah. And she's looking at the paper. Holy cow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, moving into.
So let me say one more thing. The OMLA Team of the Year Award is going to be. We're going to try to do that in July maybe, and we'll see if we can get teachers to come out for that. If we can't get enough to come out in July, maybe August. But I think it'd be really cool to get more members of the team to be here for that, to at least be recognized in front of the board. So.
Absolutely.
And in case you didn't know, which everybody should know, the McKinney Middle School is the Team of the Year out of 1,000+ teams in the state of Ohio for the Ohio Middle Level Association, which means they're #1 in the state of Ohio. Frankly, they have been for a few years now, but we're finally getting recognized. So great job, team. So.
Yep.
Have a nice summer.
Yes.
Hey, thank you. Okay, moving into 2.4 administrative reports. Okay.
So you have a copy of my board report, and actually much of it's been talked about already. So if I go longer than 2 minutes, please stop. I think Mario mentioned the OMLA Award for Middle School Teacher of the Year. There are about 1,039 upper elementary, middle school, and junior highs in Ohio, and part of the award, there's a rubric with 6 kind of attributes around it, but it's their contribution to middle level education and their leadership with student achievement. And I think in some ways we're defining student achievement far broader and richer than other middle schools have in the past. Middle schools have traditionally always defined success with students more than and better than junior highs, but it's just really terrific to see these guys, this team, win this award. It's they really have been doing remarkable things. I think they're, as a group of adults, they enjoy their time with each other. They're curious, they're imaginative, and they're doing great work. Both of my children have gone through that school, and they're better young humans because of it. So there's that award, and then the award that Mario just provided in terms of Little Miami River and its watershed. And then I guess the last piece down at the bottom, we had some students at the student athletes at the Ohio State track meet place. That's the 4th place, Julian Roberts, who just graduated in the 300 hurdles. She is now the fastest 300 hurdler in Yellow Springs history. And then James Browning, a junior, got to state meet for the first time and jumped to 13th place. It's actually starting to have a tradition of really terrific high jumpers come through our schools. So I think that's 3 in the last 7 years or so. So that's just the highlights of what's going on. Of course, we graduated the class of 2017. Very nice ceremony. They're off and running, I think, and that's about it.
Great, thank you. All right.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So it's we've kind of shifted down into I don't know, 2nd gear, maybe 1st gear. I don't know. It's a lot different when the students aren't here and the staff is gone. Like the pace of the day is much different. We can actually sit down and get something done in completion without being interrupted 50 times. So it's good. Things are going well. One interesting thing that I'm working on is looking at potentially building a recording studio here on campus because there's a big need for maker spaces, and we're kind of exploring that because it's a deep interest that a lot of kids and teachers have to be able to do video and audio recording and songs, and so kind of getting into that and trying to figure out if that's going to work or not. So that might be exciting to have that, and it would be a district resource just like the maker spaces up at the high school. So probably one of the biggest highlights this summer is the interview bonanza. Needs a little whip crack in there. So Mario, this is kind of Mario's dream to make this thing happen, and he's been talking about it for probably 6 months to a year about like we got to do things differently when we hire people. So we successfully pulled off this bonanza idea. We brought in 9 candidates. They ran through different scenarios. We had a design challenge where they had to work collaboratively. We had an interview where it was 3 people interviewing at once, 3 candidates together, and doing some different kinds of questions that elicited a lot of discussion, and they were able to bounce off each other. They created a PBL project using a visual prompt. We had lunch with them and kind of did speed dating and got to know them in a different way. So it was really dynamic, and not only did I think we felt like it was pretty successful, the people that came in said, I really gained something from this. This helped me in my understanding of education, and just the experience was valuable to them. So it was pretty cool, and we're proud of that effort. A couple other things up there, you guys know about the courts, the tennis court work that's happening, and that's going to continue over the summer with some more things happening. You'll see it continue to transform, and that work will go into next year as well. But it'll be functional and ready to go by the beginning of the school year, and then we'll keep adding to it and kind of rolling the plan out. And then, like Tim said, we had a really nice graduation celebration. It's a really good class of kids that's moving up to 7th grade, so I think he's going to be really happy, and that middle school team will be able to do great things with those students as well. So.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Now I'm going to come over here, trying to see if I can pull up yours here real quick. Make sure I find it. Here we go, I got it. I thought it wasn't here, so go ahead and see it. You can see about shaking, absolutely.
It might even be a little cooler over
I
here.
just lost it. I'm just going to give you more,
No, I can see. It's just,
You can see it?
I can see
in
just
case you want to rotate it around.
with my glasses on.
All right.
So, I cannot believe it's already been a year, but it has been a year since I started in this position, in this school district. I personally feel like it's been a great year. I've learned a lot, and I think I've accomplished a lot, and really got things off to a good start. It took some time to, kind of find my bearings, but I would say after the winter break, things really started to gain traction. So I'm really looking forward to this summer, having some time to reflect and plan and be more proactive next year as opposed to more reactive. I feel like this year was, you find out about what happens after the fact. So I feel like I have a better sense of the rhythms of the school year, and so I think next year is going to be really, really awesome. But this year, I found this book called Creating Foundations for American Schools, and it's specifically about public schools. And it was a really helpful resource for me for this year. But in their opinion, if you hold a few events, you get a calendar of activities going, you run a campaign, and you have a committee within the first 12 months, then you run a successful first year operation. And in my report, I highlight the different things that I was able to accomplish this year with the help of my development committee, with the staff and administration here, and at Mills Lawn and at the high school as well. But we've been able to launch an annual campaign, which brought in about $19,000 so far to the school district in unrestricted funds. I'm in the process of writing several grants that we're waiting to hear back from. Some of them to fund robotics programming from, 2nd grade to senior year. We have outdoor education opportunities that are in the works in collaboration with Community Solutions and the property that they just bought behind the high school. There are opportunities for collaborations there, and so we're reaching out to the Ohio EPA to see if they will support some outdoor education initiatives there. There's a lot of opportunities for maker spaces. A lot of funding is out there for that. So I feel like I've gotten a really good idea of what the needs are in the district and have identified a lot of different funding opportunities that we can pursue in order to meet some of the needs that we have here. If we can move to the, well, actually don't do it yet. So one other thing that I wanted to highlight is that we have really gotten the Alumni Association off to a strong start. We've had a couple of events this year. We had the Alumni Basketball Tournament in December. We're about to kick off a membership drive where we're going to be sending out a mailing and asking people to join the Alumni Association. We're also planning an all-class reception, which is going to be in conjunction with the informal all-class reunion that takes place at the Bryan Center on the Friday of 4th of July weekend. But at this all-class reception, we're going to honor the undefeated football teams in the class of 71 and 73. And John Gudgel is helping us to kind of organize that. And so we're hoping that in the future we'll have a whole reunion weekend with, you know, a lot of different events. So this all-class reception is sort of like our first foray into that. So we've been hard at work getting all of that started. And we also were able to induct our first senior class this year. The class of 2017 was our inaugural class that we inducted, and we gave them these really cool dog tags as kind of like a symbolic, you know, welcome to the alumni family, and they were created right here in our makerspace at the high school by our 8th grade engineering students. We gave them the blank tags. They engraved them with a laser engraver that they have in the engineering lab, and they assembled them and they gave them to me alphabetized. I mean, it was really, really awesome. But it was a wonderful partnership, and it was a great example of how, you know, the things that we're doing, they all started to connect. You know, it's just a wonderful connection, and another example of a real world application of the work that our students are doing. So that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun at graduation this year. If we can go to the second page.
Before you go to the second page,
yeah.
Do you mind if I toss a couple of questions at you?
No, not at all.
So, second from the bottom, that's our total of people who come through as part of the
DLTC, the Deeper
right.
Learning Training Center, yes.
This year,
this academic year?
Yep.
Got it, okay. So, and that's 30 plus, 30 districts or schools?
Or schools.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to get a kind of final accounting of that at some
we
point?
can do that, yeah. I think if you ask...
Is that a Dawn question?
Yeah, definitely.
Or is that a Dawn 2 question?
Either one could do it, I think,
okay.
But it's...
Just be interested to see
if you'd like, but I think, you know...
What that starts to
Are you
look
talking,
like.
I mean, when you say accounting, are you talking about money, or are you just wanting
he's
to...
talking dollars and cents.
That's what I'm talking.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'd just be curious to see...
I have it on the next page.
Oh, okay, well, I'm sorry.
And no, that's fine, that's fine. Yeah, so I did activities and then outcomes on the next page.
So real quick, I think that's a good point to make. 175 visiting teachers, 30 school districts, including a lot of them from all across the state. So we had several from the Cleveland area up north. We even had a district from Indiana that came. So it's you know, we're getting some good, a lot of interest in the work we're doing across the state of Ohio and Indiana now too. So it's really positive.
Yep. So in terms of outcomes, we've already talked about the Lowe's grant, which supported the outdoor classroom rehab of the tennis court area here at Mills Lawn. We also just recently received tentative approval from the Ohio Department of Higher Ed for that public-private grant that we submitted, where essentially it would fund an internship, an engineering internship program at the high school. And so we would have students taking a Clark State course in mechanical engineering from a Clark State faculty member, and also be able to work on site at an industry partner in Xenia, SAS Automation, so that they would have hands-on experience with the work that they're doing in the classroom. And then on top of that, those students would also serve as mentors for another engineering class and they would lead them in the design and build of a food trike that has a robotic component to it. So we received the green light. We just need to make a couple of modifications to the budget and to the narrative, and hopefully by the end of June we'll be awarded that grant too, which is going to be about $74,000 over 2 years, and that'll help to purchase equipment for the makerspace at the high school as well.
Well, and how did that originate? I mean, what was the, yeah.
Well, I think it was, I don't know who built the connection with her first, Mary. PIE is an organization, you can interrupt. You actually can explain what
I believe, yeah, so PIE, I always forget what they're...
Partnership
for Innovation and Education, thank you. I think they found out about us through our work with the ESC of Central Ohio.
They did, yes.
And so they had heard about the PBL work that we were doing here, and they reached out and said, we would really like to work with you as a school district because we think the work that we're doing really dovetails well with what you're doing. And she had heard of this funding opportunity. There are only 6 in the state, maybe 5, like they had split the state up into regions, and so no one had applied from our region, and so she was able to bring that opportunity to us, and so we worked on that grant application together. Yeah.
In the food truck idea is Tim's idea. It's this really wild idea about building food trucks and then kids selling food.
So many things I could say right now.
You're hungry.
Of course it was
It's
your
going to be a
idea.
really interesting idea. We
This is
see
like
Yellow
PBL
Spring
for the-
Schools food trucks
You all have to
right
go
down the
PBL
road.
here. So I pitched this idea, and I mean, think about it. Food trikes with robotic arms, interning at an end of robotic arm tooling company. I mean, like pick up cupcakes and drop it into your hand or something. I don't know what it is, but it will be remarkable.
I've never seen you so excited.
That's
the cool thing about this work, right? Is we're having fun. It's really fun work, and kids are learning at the same time. You should be having fun when you're learning and working, I think. And this is really
Yeah, it's true. And both the adults and the
Yeah,
students,
exactly.
both. I mean, it
This is
works
cool.
hand in hand that way. That's the hope.
Yeah.
So some of the other things that I wanted to highlight was the 50th Reunion Leadership Spirit Scholarship that was started this year. The class of 1966, they were here last year for their 50th reunion. I gave them a tour of Mills Lawn and the high school, and it was a really moving experience for me to kind of experience that with them. They were the first kindergarten class in this building. And I think that the classroom looks exactly the same as when they were here. But
how comforting.
Yeah. But they were inspired to start the scholarship fund, so they reached out to me and to I put them in touch with the Community Foundation, and they were able to work with them to get, kind of like a dollar amount in place that they needed in order to start this scholarship fund at the level that they wanted it. And they did their own fundraising and reached out to the classes around them, and so they started this 50th Reunion Scholarship. So every year, the class that's celebrating their 50th reunion will contribute to this fund if they choose to. So we gave our first award this year as $1,000, and it went to August Niemeyer. So it was that was a really fun experience too. So I'm hoping that our alums will be inspired by their leadership and do other similar types of things to give back to the school community. We also, let's see. I mean, a lot of these things I've already talked about before, so I don't want to, belabor some of these points. But in addition to, bringing in grant funds and some individual contributions, there's also in-kind services that I've been able to broker just as a matter of reaching out to community partners, and it's something that Mario and other administrators don't always have the time to do, to like sit down with folks in the community and really talk about, because a lot of people do want to help and they do want to support the schools, but it's very difficult sometimes to find the time to sit down and talk with them when you're trying to run a district or run a school building or run a classroom. So I think that I've been helpful to our staff in that way and being able to broker some of these connections. And so I'm really looking forward to building on that next year as people start to think of me instead of always reaching out to Mario. I think folks are like, oh, well, we can reach out to Dawn and she can help us with this too. So in closing, I have some numbers at the bottom. This is as of May 30th. So I've got the total amount that we were able to raise through grants, through the annual campaign. We had a couple of special events this year, a couple of individual donations, and one of them a major gift. The Deeper Learning Training Center brought in almost $10,000 this year.
Yeah,
that's from the people who pay to come here to visit, but also from our teachers who have delivered professional development to other school districts, and they paid us to do that. And then I just put some dollar amounts on the in-kind contributions that we received this year. So again, I think that this year got off to a really strong start, and I'm really looking forward to next year.
That's great. I appreciate that. And I appreciate this report. I appreciate having you break this stuff down a lot, and that's very helpful. Just out of curiosity, I wonder, I mean, as you proceed, and it's great to hear that you feel like you're hitting your stride and so forth. As you proceed, I'm just wondering about, like, in these categories, as a sort of advancement person, do you sort of, in the back of your mind, have particular goals per each category, and sort of as a way to aspire to those, or is it just a little too early to do that?
That's what I want to do this summer. Is really, you know, reflect on what I've done and really think about what's realistic, you know, in the coming year, and try to be more planful about it. So yeah, definitely, I do want to establish some targets, but right now they're not really solidified yet.
And I'm also curious about, like, I mean, it seems like, not that you're working with at cross purposes like with the PTO and stuff, but I could imagine, like, with theater arts and boosters and maybe the PTO, that some of this sort of merges or parallels stuff that historically that those organizations have done, and how do you, I would imagine that takes some finesse, because people take ownership of that. They're probably also relieved that there's somebody else there doing it, but I'm just a little curious how that is working.
That's something that's definitely been on my mind all year, and I think that finesse is the right word. At this point, I've been in communication with all of those, you know, different stakeholders, boosters, PTO, and just offered my services as a resource. You know, I'm here to help. Also, this is what I'm doing, so you know, what are you guys doing, so that we're not stepping on each other's toes. So that's really the approach that I've taken at this point, is just get the lines of communication open, and you know, making sure that we aren't working at cross purposes.
Right.
And then, you know, who knows, in the future, I would love for it to be, you know, a lot more coordinated. But like you said, I think it might be too soon for that, and I don't want people to feel like I'm trying to take over their, you know, their projects. So, but I definitely do want to help. I mean, if I'm out there in the community speaking to a potential donor and they want to give to, you know, a theater program, I need to know what the theater people need. And so if we can be in communication about that, then I can be of service to them and help them make those connections too. So that's my approach.
Gotcha. Thanks, and this is really helpful. I appreciate
My pleasure.
the visual and so forth. Thank you. Great success. First year success. Okay, so we're moving into the treasurer's report and recommendations, and there is a report, and we're not really qualified to go through it.
You don't want me to take a swing at this? No, I think in my role as treasurer pro tem, I will forego the reading of the financial notes for this month.
But they are on record, and
yes, and they are here.
People are interested and so forth. They are. So we're going to move into the consent portion of the calendar, the financial part of it, 3.2 through 3.3. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. This is appropriations and advance and transfers. It's pretty pretty
Yep.
sort of typical of what happens on an annual basis. Anybody have anything? Do you have anything?
Well, what I would say is, if you look at 3.3, I mean, it's already explained pretty well there. Basically, we're just adjusting the final appropriations for the 16-17, FY17 school year, kind of buttoning that up and closing up for the year. And you can see there's very traditional what we've done, lunchroom transfers, athletic fund transfers, and that's essentially where we're at. So those are the two.
Okay, roll call.
Aida,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
and Steve.
Yes.
This is fun. I'm having a good time.
All right, superintendent's report.
Okay, guess I'll start with the facilities OCC building report. So I want to let the community know and the board know, I think the board already knows this, but I'm going to kind of, if you can focus on the webpage real quick, Jacob. We have a webpage set up specifically around facilities and the facilities work we're doing for the community and the engagement process. And so you can see here, if you click on, you go to the webpage, ysschools.org, and you click on YS Facilities Plan in the upper right, which is a new thing you can press. Has first thing is promoting our community pulse discussions. So I guess I'll talk about that quickly too. So we've added these 3 community pulse discussions to the already the 2 we've had already, and then the ones we're planning on having in the fall as well. But this is sort of 3 opportunities for engagement over the summer for the community to talk about facilities and to have a really much more open structure to have discussion around this. So on June 15th, I'm really wanting to promote specifically this first session on community pulse discussion, and we're going to really focus on the facilities report that was made by the Ohio School Facilities Commission, and where they essentially evaluated our facilities at no cost to the district at all. It's a service that the School Facilities Commission does, which is an arm of the state of Ohio. Essentially, that's one of their roles and one of their jobs is to not only manage the school funding that comes from the state to build schools, but also to then evaluate schools and recommend replacement or renovation and estimate the costs of renovation, the costs of replacement, as well as the current needs of your current facilities, which I think is really valuable. So they're also, in addition, they're doing an enrollment study, which we have not gotten the results back from yet, but we have gotten our evaluation of our current facilities back. And so I want to show the community where that is and where it can be found online, folks who want to take a look at it. And this is what we'll be talking about. At that meeting on June 15th, we have invited Glenn Rao, who is with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, and he's been our contact with them, very informed, very educated person about school facilities and design, and he's really on the cutting edge and forefront in the state of Ohio around this, and probably the best expert to talk about that report with the community and what the results of the report are. So he'll be at that meeting on June 5th, giving hopefully a 30-minute, June 15th, Thursday, June 15th, at the Yellow Springs High School gym at 6:30 p.m. We have it in the gym because it's a larger venue. We anticipate that we're hoping that the first event at least will have a lot of people there. And if we have, if we have more even in July, we can expand it and find another large spot. But really, the gym is one of the largest spaces we have in the district, and I think that'd be a great place to fit lots of community members interested in attending. Next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. in the gym, and he's going to take the first 30 minutes or so and talk about our reports and answer any questions around school facilities, and then we'll have some dialogue and questions about our facilities and what this means and what the report means about the needs of of our school buildings, and then have some open discussion after that within the community. And so we're hoping to have a real great dialogue and conversation and get some ideas and input from our community members. So if you click down here at the very bottom where it says Yellow Springs Facilities Plan, and you go over here where it says Ohio Facilities Commission. Now we need to change this link to say, and that's what one of the things Steve and I will be working on soon. It should say report on there, but it doesn't. And so if you click on this button here, you can see on the right, there's a report from McKinney Yellow Springs High School report and Mills Lawn Elementary report. And so I will very briefly click on this and then we'll move on to the next thing. So it's a very long, cumbersome report, 62 pages, but the nice thing about these reports is they really break down a couple of things. And so as an example, we'll go a few pages in. Right here, it says that the renovation cost factor, or the cost to renovate versus building new at McKinney Middle School, Yellow Springs High School is 96%, which means the cost of building new, cost of renovating would be 96% the cost of building a new building. And it's essentially almost the exact same number at Mills Lawn School as well. The second and final thing I want to point out in these reports, so this is a breakdown of all the costs and needs throughout the building, which totals $16 million in renovations just at Yellow Springs High School, McKinney Middle School. But as you go further into the report, it takes each of these sub-areas and breaks it down and has very clear information about what is the need. And so here's heating systems as an example. I can just get rid of this. It talks about a description of the heating system and the needs, the rating, which is a 3, so it's 1 to 3, 1 being it's in great condition, 2 being you may want to consider looking at this, 3 being it absolutely needs replacement. So if you were to think about an A to F scale, an A might be number 1, a C might be number 2, and an F would be number 3. We got lots of Fs, essentially, in terms of our facilities and what they look like. So heating systems, we were rated as a 3 on a scale of 1 to 3, which they're essentially saying it needs replacement. It's the lowest rating you can get. They have a recommendation for each of these. So I just want to share this because this is the case for each of those bullet points as you go through the report. I'm not going to talk any more about that now, but I wanted to just share that with the community, that this is available. If you go to our website, click on Yellow Springs Facilities Plan, go down and you can see all of the links here, which are great, including FAQs we've added recently. And click on the Ohio Facilities Commission, you can get the reports that way.
So it's really exciting that Glenn Rowell is coming, because this is his area of expertise, and rather than trying to sort through 62 pages of information, he will highlight what's really important to look at and what's really important to pay attention to. So I really appreciate his willingness to come at the end of his day, travel here from Columbus, and spend just a really small period of time with us. So I really want to encourage people to be there, because it's really wonderful that it's happening.
Yeah, so I think I was just talking about both of those, A and B, in my conversation just now. I kind of combined them, but talking about C very briefly, the Yellow Springs Community Foundation, you may have seen in the paper a few weeks ago, promoting a mindfulness project. So the Community Foundation is very interested in having opportunities for collaboration between different entities within the community. And so we got together with Gina Marie Cox, who essentially is the executive director of the Community Foundation. And she was able to create a project with us, Yellow Springs Schools, Antioch College, and Antioch University Midwest, and as well as a number of the private schools and preschools within the community, and all come together around this idea of mindfulness. So we got together and figured out what could we all unite together around to work with our offer for our faculty. And one of the things that came out very quickly was the challenges of being an educator, and the great amount of stress, I think, that's and the wellness needs I think teachers and educators have. And we felt like this would be a great opportunity to really offer some supports for our teachers, as well as the administrators and folks who work for some of the other schools within the community. And I think it's been a wild success. So there's been several different, the idea was to have a real quick pilot project where we do one day at several different venues throughout the community. And I believe they did 4 different venues, and all 4 were well attended. And the goal is that we're getting together next week to talk about, do we want to move forward with it? What's this going to look like? So we'll have a discussion, and our hope is that folks want to move forward, and that we can really do a full project next year around this and get more people engaged and interested in the work. So that kind of sums it up. But it's been good. I think it's been really positive, and we're hoping that it can grow. We think, so a kind of long-term big picture for me, mindfulness is, I think, an important practice that a lot of schools are engaging in more and more across the country. I think it's something that Yellow Springs schools could, and I believe it would benefit our schools to engage in that work as well. So we're thinking long-term, how do we, initially, let's start working with faculty on this and seeing the interest among faculty, staff, administration. And then secondarily, how then can we, after we've done that, start to think about incorporating that into our practices around disciplining students, around any kind of interventions we're working with kids on. How do we then use this with kids, especially students who are struggling in school, as an alternative to maybe detention or something of that nature? And so my thinking is maybe we can they can kind of turn into something, usage around that, and then potentially maybe even using it in school-wide settings or classroom settings and other areas. So this is happening across the country now. I believe this is a movement that's growing, and I think it dovetails nicely with the values of this community and what we're all about. And so we'll see where this goes. Maybe it'll take off, and we can start thinking about incorporating these ideas into our schools.
All right. We are moving into the administrative portion of our consent calendar, 4.2 and 4.6.
Oh, I'll move for that one, yeah.
Second.
Okay.
All right. Anything to,
Yeah, I'll just say that we're talking about student handbooks, which are revised every year at this time, so a little bit different this time than normal. Typically, you look at the high school, middle school handbook first, and then you go to the Mills Lawn handbook in July oftentimes, but Matt was ready to do it at this meeting, which is great. We have both at the same time. Anything you guys want to add about your handbooks changes?
Minimal changes from our.
So with ours, I think we sent you a list of where the changes were specifically with the handbooks.
so can I just make a couple comments? Because I was at that meeting. And there's just a couple, and I could maybe just do that. Well, anyway, on page 16 of the handbook, it says it states the principal is part of the student review board. I wondered if you wanted to change that to designated person because it was Jack this year, and I don't know who it's going to be. That's too vague.
Well, that's the review committee, is what he's a part of, and SRB is run by.
Well, anyway, just check that out. And then the other thing was is that I'm not sure if that letter is the letter you're submitting at the beginning of the book, but the year is wrong. It says,
Oh, it is?
Yeah. So I just saw that when I was going through it today. It just zeroed in on
Your
that.
board members never sleep.
At
least some of them.
Yeah, and then gosh, you know, we're looking at those graduation policies. Are those going to be ready to go into the new handbook?
There are a variety of policies that will not be ready for that, including
Okay.
truancy, gifted, a whole
Oh,
list.
that's
So-
unfortunate. But
Yeah.
we'll just, yeah.
Well, I think part of it's going to be giving an update out to parents
Right.
as soon as, start of the school year, because I think
Yeah.
our board policy was approved by then.
Right.
And then kind of going forward from there, but as a
It's
practical
kind
matter.
of shocking, those new
Yeah.
requirements.
Yeah, and it's good, I want you all to know that we've been hard at work, already enforcing them even ahead of board policy. So these guys, Tim's well aware of the graduation requirements and needs and the challenges associated with them. Already thinking about retesting kids and figuring out how we make sure kids graduate under this system and finding
Transition year
ways.
in particular, huh?
Yeah, so we have 100% graduation because we've done well. This is going to really put a damper on that if we don't, really actively find ways to make sure kids are being successful. But again, the problem is this is such an overemphasis on standardized testing and
it's
high stakes standardized testing.
The thresholds are
Yes.
totally arbitrary.
Yes.
Okay, so, anything else? Yep,
So-
okay, all right, roll call.
Ann?
Yes.
Steve? Yes. Aida?
Yes.
All right.
All right, now moving into the personnel portion of the consent calendar, 4.7 to 4.8. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second this one.
Gosh, I thought 5 was small, but 3 are really tiny. All right, I don't.
This be a lesson to Sylvia and Sean.
Anything, I don't think there's anything.
Well, Mike Hill is our new custodian,
yeah.
so I think it's important pointing him out. He's taking, Mr. Clark's place.
Yeah.
And so we're hiring him in the same meeting here, and I don't know if he probably just couldn't make it tonight
Mhm.
in terms of being here, but he's a really working right now, probably, right? I mean, so he's a great guy. Rave reviews from our faculty. He once again, so we've been really lucky the past few hires with custodians to have people who were substitute for us for quite some time, that we could then see how they work and then roll them right into the position. They end up being who we hire at the end. And we've been very lucky. So we have that at Mills Lawn and now here at the high school, which is really great after having a staff that's been working for 15, 20 years, for such a long time ago. The replacements we're getting, we feel like are pretty top notch, and you concur with that assessment in terms of my,
Too bad, issue.
yeah.
Well, and that had been an ongoing issue that, keeping people really steady and also really doing good work. So
Yes,
that's
people feel really good about that right now, in both buildings, so.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, and you want to say anything about Kelly, because she's,
Yeah.
there's that letter and
So Kelly is moving, to full-time now versus half-time, and in the role as a special education aide next year. So that was that sort of additional half-time position, additional position, full-time position we had. And so she's taking that position, which opens up the half-time position that she had. And so we're working right now to interview and get that going. So you'll probably, with any luck, we'll have somebody for next month for the half-time position.
great. All right, roll call.
Steve, yes. Ann?
Yes.
Aida?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Okay, board communications. We're looking at trying to schedule a work session, probably for
Did we decide July was out? Is that
I
why we
think
bumped this to
that-
August? I missed something.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah, I think I thought you said that August would be easier for you, and it turns out that.
In terms of vacations and things like that. so.
Yeah,
Huh, okay.
Is that when you were gonna go?
Well, yeah, August is gonna, probably gonna be quite complicated for me.
We can,
That's,
we
that,
can squeeze
I'll
it
take
in.
that all.
We can.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to find dates, but we can try to find dates right now if we want.
Okay, let's try to find a couple. I know when some
Well, and these folks, right.
are available, so should be able to.
Do you wanna organize that, or do you want me to organize that, or what's your?
Well, is it everybody else here in July?
I am not here the last 2 weeks.
Okay, that's one of those 2 weeks is Sean is not available.
That's a problem.
The
Because the
last-
first 2 weeks is always in right around July. People usually take a vacation during that week, and so we really minus it down. So we'll have to look at it. I mean, there's some time available.
Can I push?
Yes.
What about the last Thursday of June? Of this month, 2 weeks from tonight?
Would be the 15th?
No, that would be,
No, 22nd. 22nd.
It is totally open for me.
that might be a good thing to do, huh?
I don't know.
I don't know what
strike while
theirs,
the
I
iron's-
didn't ask for June's schedule, but that's okay,
Yeah.
let's tentatively do that, and I'll ask Sylvia and Sean and Dawn, right?
The only
Yeah,
issue
I
of that
know.
date is if you what kind of agenda you want to put together, and then trying to put that together in a pretty short time.
Yep.
Is a little challenging, so
Yes,
depending on.
but it may be less challenging than finding dates as the summer goes on.
So
So we're gonna shoot for June
22nd.
22nd and see if we can actually make that work?
Yeah,
7 p.m. or earlier.
we could do it, can we do it
I
earlier?
can do it early. I can.
Yeah,
I actually am not working on Thursday evenings.
There you go.
wow.
You do love us.
I do?
So you want to shoot for 3 or 4, or what?
No, I don't know.
Oh,
Thursday
what-
evening. I-
so how early can?
I could probably make 6 reliable.
Okay,
All right, let's try
let's
6.
try 6. Okay, I'll check with
And we'll
that.
get a confirmation on
Yeah.
that, great.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so Greene County Career Center report.
Not too much, obviously. Great graduation event over at the Schuster Center. Lot of, it's a big graduation. There are almost 400 graduates this time around. But I did want to also say that at one of it was either this past month, or I may have even missed it a month, the Schools in Action presentation was actually about our 8th grade furniture project. And it was a tremendous presentation of a tremendous project. And I hadn't actually, at that point, seen any of the furniture. So I was looking at it for the first time on the screen over at the Career Center. So that was really fun. And that whole engineering thing seems to be working out really well. I mean, because I just learned about the furniture, and then I hear about Dawn's dog tag project, and so that seems to be a really nice arrangement that we've worked out with the Career Center in that particular area. So I'm really pleased with that.
Finally, we're gelling in that
Yeah.
regard. So
Exactly.
Very cool. Thanks for sending those reports too.
Yes,
Oh,
that's-
absolutely.
That's really helpful.
no.
All right, any other board member items besides that Steve should never be treasurer for the next
I think we've all learned an important lesson here.
I'm kidding.
Well, I also just want to, underscore what Tim said. I thought it was a really lovely graduation event. It was not 97 degrees, which I think certainly helped, but it was a terrific tone. It was just a really lovely evening. And so thank you and everybody who put that all together.
Yeah.
It's the most fun day of being a school board.
It is. It really is. I agree with that. So the only thing I want to ask is that people show up at the Pulse meeting. We really want you there. I think the board is really committed and invested in hearing from the community. This is our information gathering process. This is our opportunity to hear from the community and really get a sense of where everybody is. So I know it's the summertime and people are going to be in and out, but whoever can make it, we'd really love to have you, and for you to get the information as well that we're hearing through reports and so forth. So,
And it is the best way to have discourse and discussion over this, I think,
Mhm.
to have people together so there can be some back and forth. It is the best way to do it.
and these additional meetings give us that opportunity. The formal engagement process is facilitated and has specific agenda that we try to follow with hopes of getting our work accomplished. There's a little bit more opportunity here this summer to really have a back and forth dialogue and perhaps to ask some questions as they come up more. So anyway, just would really encourage people to come, and also to reiterate that the board is really invested in this process and really interested in hearing from the community, because we really can't do this without hearing from you all. So, all right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I know.
I bet you'll second.
I'll second that one.
Okay, roll call.
Aida?
Yes.
Anne?
No. Yes.
And I say yes as well. And we are adjourned.
All right, thanks everybody.